Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. We're two dudes in a rabbit hole. I'm David.
I'm Gavin.
And I'm definitely going to be a rabbit hole tonight. I'm Riley.
Today we are talking about the NBA trades and trade deadline. Riley is going to kick us off first with the Lakers trading Russell Westbrook.
All right. For all the Lakers fans out there thinking this is the salvation, I mean, maybe, probably not, but maybe. So the trade broke down. Russell Westbrook, 27 protected first, top four protected, I believe, going to Utah. Utah gave up Mike Conley to the Timberwolves. I believe the Timberwolves also got several seconds from the Lakers. And the Lakers receive Malik Beasley, they get D'Angelo Russell, and they get Jared Vanderbilt. So I'll try and break this down team by team real quick. If you're the Timberwolves, you just thought D'Lo's probably not re-signing, might not be the best fit with Edwards. Let's get Conley in here for an extra year of team control. It's a good, competent point guard. I think it gives them time to assess. They'll definitely need another one a year or two down the road. Conley's, I believe, 34. So that's fine. That's no big deal. You move off somebody who probably wasn't going to re-sign anyway. You get a stopgap. You get some seconds. Totally fine. Totally reasonable. If you're Utah, you just gave up one clearly starting caliber player in Vanderbilt. And I'm trying to think. Conley's a starter, but you're not super bummed. He's older. He's on a bigger deal. And Malik Beasley's a very solid seventh guy in your rotation, probably somewhere around there. And in the right situation, could be a little higher, a little lower. I think they probably could have done better than just one first for this. But I'm not super bummed out for them. I get it. I do think those Lakers draft picks were inflated a bit. It's pretty rare to see a team without their draft picks really, really suck. I know that happened with the Nets, and I know people look at Boston and think about how great that was. That's pretty rare. Most of the time, those teams that are supposed to suck win, 34, 37 games just because they have no incentive to tank. So I don't mind it for Utah. I don't think it's amazing. I think you could have at least got better value out of Vanderbilt as legitimately worth a first by himself, let alone taking on Westbrook's money and giving up Beasley and Conley. If you're the Lakers, I can't believe they got this much value for a pick and an expiring. That's insane to me. I think D'Angelo Russell, I was trying to go through all the possible guards, ones and twos, that the Lakers could have gotten reasonably. And other than maybe Fred VanVleet, who's having a pretty rough year for the most part, I don't know if there was a better guard they could have got. I don't know if Russell's the answer. I genuinely actually don't think he is. But I think he gives you the highest upside moving forward. Maybe he just walks in free agency, though. That's still a possibility. Besides that, I think Vanderbilt, I don't know how well it fits spacing-wise, but everything else, I love his defense. I love how he knows when to cut off ball. And Malik Beasley, thank God they finally have a shooter. I know he's only at 36, 37% this year. Historically, he's closer to 39 plus. I love this deal for the Lakers. I was actually kind of in the camp of don't do anything, wait till the offseason, trade those two picks, plus I believe they get one more once the draft goes through. So wait, spend free agency money, trade those draft picks. I can't believe the Lakers pulled this off. I think this is incredible value for one pick. And I don't even think they're going to be horrendous in 2027. It's spectacular. I actually think you can just slap all three of these guys in your starting lineup, or you can bring all three off the bench because you're not actually giving up any starters in this trade. I think it's incredible for Lakers. I fucking love this trade. I think this is a slam dunk. I don't know if they're contenders. I wouldn't rule it out, though, which is way more than I thought I could say for only giving up one pick. I just think it's a great trade. I think it's fantastic. And worst case scenario, summer hits, D'Angelo Russell doesn't re-sign. They have a player option on Beasley, and Vanderbilt could easily be flipped for a first. And then you go out and you still have 2 or 3 firsts to work with because you have a first from Vanderbilt potentially, and you have cap space. I think it's kind of a win-win and a fantastic trade for the Lakers. I don't even give a shit about the Lakers. I don't really care. I like LeBron. He's cool, but I'm not a stan for just about any team. Maybe the Suns because I like Chris Paul, but that's about it. Okay, David, thoughts on this trade? I'm just stoked about it.
I think this is a good trade. No offense to Russell Westbrook. He's been a great player. But as it seems, everywhere he goes, there is turmoil between the team. Games aren't being won. He's making dumb mistakes. I don't know what it is. I think this is fantastic for the Lakers. I think Minnesota lost this, as well as the Jazz. I do like D'Lo going back to the Lakers. It adds a bit more of weaponry coming into that point guard spot. Because, yes, he does have high usage rating, and he holds the ball a lot. But he's played with Kobe. He's played with good players. He was holding the ball a lot because he needed to hold the ball a lot. Now he doesn't have to as much. He's got AD to work with. He's got LeBron. I think it works in his favor. I think they re-sign him at the end of the season. And they did get a lot of depth in this trade. But I think the depth that they got could outweigh the rest of some of their other players. But that's just me. I don't really have a lot to say about it other than it's a win for the Lakers. Gavin?
I mean, you guys covered basically everything on it that I was going to say, but what we do know is that it still needs to produce results. Like, we can be excited about the trade. The players should hypothetically work on paper. We just have to see it in action. So I'm also looking towards Darvin Ham to see kind of what lineups he runs out, what he can do with now a deeper team, and if he can actually coach these guys to win, because I think that's part of it. Is we didn't really get to see how well of a coach he has been because of the limited type of guys that he's been able to work with. Granted, they've been slowly adding players like Lonnie Walker, Thomas Bryant, Rui Hachimura. So I am excited just to see that and to see these guys compete for the Timberwolves, because I don't know, Riley, if you touched on that one too much, but it kind of feels like they're doing like their weird version of the Jazz, because they have Conley over there now. They have Gobert, and essentially they're having like Anthony Edwards play the Donovan Mitchell role. So I'm curious to see what that looks like. Maybe both the Wolves and Lakers with their new improved teams shoot up. And for the Jazz, to me, this feels like basically you get the first, you shed some of the older players and salaries. I believe they're going to try to buy out Westbrook, and then you have a team that's going into the offseason with like 1 million picks, a bunch of cap space, and just is super duper flexible. And you always want that, especially if you're going to be a rebuilding team, because not only do you have like the assets to draft who you want to draft, but you also have the cap space to sign who you want to sign. So you can kind of build it any which way. So even though the Jazz won't be good now, they at least have sort of the building blocks to either attract superstars to potentially sign over there, or just build up the team the way they want to build it up. So opposed to what David said, I think it's a pretty good trade for all three teams, because they all kind of accomplished, I believe, what they wanted to do. So I am totally looking forward to that. But that's all I got.
All right, we're going to... What do you got, Riley?
Do we think Westbrook, he's going to be somewhere, right? So far, like the reporting is like Clippers, Bulls have interest. do we think Westbrook like legitimately can make an impact coming off the bench for like either of those teams or any other team, or like I'm straight up out on him? What about you guys?
You go first, David.
So if we were talking Thunder, Russell Westbrook, I would say he would have an impact. But he's just been too erratic, too uncontrolled, and I don't think he actually brings that much of an impact off the bench. Why do you think the Lakers got rid of him? Like, it sucks to say because I liked Russell Westbrook, but when you can't slow your game down because you're an athletic freak and you think that's what's going to get you places, it's not. Yeah, LeBron's an athletic freak, but he has, from the time he entered the NBA, he grew into these other abilities, post up, post shots, passing, pick and roll. He's done it all. So, but Westbrook never really capitalized on that. He only relied on his athleticism to get him places. Gavin?
I think Westbrook off the bench can have an impact. I just think that what makes him so polarizing as a player is that he is going to give 100% every single time, which is awesome to have in a player. The issue is that he is unwilling to change his game. So the issue that presents is if you're going to sink resources into Russ, you just have to know that you have the chance for these like high scoring, high rebound, high assist games, but then you have to look at the other side where it's like maybe he gets you 8 assists off the bench, but then it's like a 6 turnover type of game, or yeah, he gets you 20 points, but he did it on like 4 of 16 shooting. So it's like I can see a team like the Bulls doing that because I feel like they so desperately want to compete. I just feel like if they did something like that, it's only thinking super duper short term, and it's probably detrimental in the long run to the Bulls. But I think Westbrook can still be serviceable. I just think he needs to go somewhere with like a very organized kind of team structure as well as a really good head coach. I was actually talking to Riley about this before the podcast, but I was thinking like an interesting spot that he could go to would be the Heat because that culture is pretty set in stone and they don't really mess around with a bunch of other stuff like that. Plus, they do need guard help, so that could be a potential. Maybe the Mavs dabble in it, but that would be kind of insane too. But yeah, I think if he does get bought out, I think he will have suitors. It's just hopefully the people who make offers on Westbrook do it so that he can come off the bench, because if he gets signed somewhere and he starts, he'll put up numbers, but they will not lead you to wins. He's just not that good of a starter anymore. He's more preferred off the bench. But that's all I got for that.
And he can't expect to get big money anymore.
No way.
In my opinion. Like, yeah, he is electrifying, but you gotta help the team win. And Gavin, from what you're saying the Lakers aren't very structured?
No. They fired their head coach, Frank Vogel. They have Darvin Ham in there.
You mean LeBron fired his head coach?
Regardless, you think of the most like outstanding type of teams. You think of like the Celtics. You think of the Spurs. You think of the Heat as like having those like in place, really really good structures. The Warriors, same one, and the Nuggets. Just things like that. So like I think because they have the good enough coach and good enough structure that they can find a perfect sort of role for Russ to fit in if those teams were to go after him. The issue is I don't know if any of those teams would, but when you put that type of a player at a price that's going to be way lower than what he has been making, like I feel like that just kind of opens the door to a bunch of different possibilities.
Fair enough. All right, on to the next trade, which was shocking but not shocking. Kyrie Irving to the Mavs. Gavin.
That's a fantastic one to think of.
So yes, the Nets were kind of in a lose-lose situation here because Kyrie Irving, I believe, requested the trade. I want to say a little less than a week before the trade deadline, and it just happened to be his contract year. So he had been asking the Nets for years to get top dollar multi-year extension and guaranteed money, which due to outside stuff wasn't helping the team win games. So the Nets were like, no, we're not going to give you that, man. We need more from you, more availability, more being one with the team kind of a thing. But that's not what Kyrie was about for those 3.5 years that he was a Net. And when he put out that announcement, he basically forced their hand to do the trade. And I think that was smart on his part because then it's like, you have all the leverage. The Nets really don't have that much leverage. They have to get rid of you to get something or else they're going to lose you for nothing. And honestly, I feel bad for Kevin Durant because it's just, having to go put up with Kyrie stuff forever, then get James Harden for a little bit, and James Harden wants out, and then we're acquiring Ben Simmons, and Ben Simmons is going through his whole thing and coaching changes, so it's been tumultuous in Brooklyn for Kevin Durant as well. But yeah, so I think other teams knowing that the Nets were frantically looking for a trade, I think a lot of them lowballed for Kyrie, but I think for what they got back from the Mavs was pretty decent because I believe it was Dinwiddie, Dorian Finney-Smith, and I want to say unprotected first. I don't know if it was the Mavs or Philly or whatever from like 2029. So that's kind of insane. That's super far, but there's definitely a lot of risk with this because I don't know if the Mavs were one of Kyrie's teams that he initially wanted to go to. So for the Mavs, it's essentially a second half rental, playoff rental, just hoping that Kyrie stays with you because Kyrie could easily just hop on to whatever team that he wants to that will pay him that top dollar and all that other stuff. And then it looks kind of, if that continues, maybe Luka, I don't know if he stays a Mav, but might not because they're not putting around him the roster to compete for a championship. So if it keeps snowballing down this hypothetical hill, that 2029 unprotected pick becomes pretty valuable. And I'm just shocked that they were able to get that, even though it is 6 years down the line. So it's just a big thing for the Mavs, but I mean, at least Kyrie has won before playing next to like a LeBron-esque type of player, which Luka is, but I know it's like a little bit different because he doesn't have the same like athleticism, but in terms of like he can get his own shot whenever he wants, the passing, the shooting, the IQ, like Kyrie has won with that type of player before, so I'm excited to see what that looks like. But I can definitely see sort of the backside of that, the worst of the worst happening with that Kyrie leaving, and then a couple years down the road, Luka leaving, and then the Mavs are kind of just, starting over from square one at that point. But that's about all I have on it. Riley, do you want to take a stab at this one?
Go ahead, Riley.
Yeah, I'll take a stab at this. I'm going to ask you guys a question. And just yes or no. Do you think it was smarter to make this trade, or if it would have been smarter to wait, even if it took a year or two, for a big star to open up and make like the 4-pick 3-swap trade to bring that person in? Would you rather have made this for the relatively lowish cost, like it's not super low, but relatively low, or would you rather have just waited for like a Paul George caliber player to come available and make that trade? What would you rather have done, David?
Honestly, predicting the future and what players want to do and where they want to go is very difficult, especially with the types of contracts that they have and the no trade clauses and yada yada yada. Personally, I think this is a fine trade, especially if Luka is upset that they're not giving him pieces, because he gets to play with Kyrie for 6 months or the rest of the season or whatever, and then might not play with him next year. So it's a win. It's a very 50-50 battle, because Luka gets that taste of playing with like a superstar caliber type player, and they're not giving him those types of players. They're not making those efforts to build a team. So does it give him that bitter taste in his mouth and he walks off and goes to another team? Who knows? Or, he goes, okay, they tried. Let's see if we can work this out and try again. And then he gets stuck. So.
Nothing worse than being stuck being mediocre.
Yep.
I would know all about that.
No, you don't. You don't know what mediocre is. You're just now discovering mediocre.
Whoa.
I
Whoa. I have had one team that has been good to mediocre, and they're now sliding down the hill very, very fast.
Which team is that, by the way?
This would be the San Jose Sharks, hockey.
Yeah, I figured as much. This is getting desperate if we have to go to the sport we don't even talk about.
Hey, I watch hockey still. Hockey's a great sport.
I know.
They're allowed to fight, okay?
I know. Let's be real. They should allow that in every sport. Okay.
Honestly, it would be
great. Off of that miniature rabbit hole.
All right,
Gavin, what do you think? Would you rather have waited, or would you rather have pulled the trigger on this deal?
I think you're kind of pigeonholed into pulling the trigger, because I don't think you can wait that long. I think Kyrie's made up his mind, and once he has his mind made up on something, he stubbornly sticks with it. And to basically the detriment of the team. So I think if I was the Nets organization, I would have tried to get the best offer for him within 6 days, because I don't think he re-signs with you. So I think you lose that asset. Whereas, I mean, the only thing that sucks is that it puts Kevin Durant's staying in Brooklyn like up in the air, because it's like he doesn't have his buddy with him anymore. But at least you got something for that, because then you deal with that, and then you know that you have the Kevin Durant thing looming in the background, but at least you've sort of dealt with that, because you kind of got it spring-loaded on you, like kind of out of nowhere.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, that's what I got on it.
Gotcha. Okay, so I think this is a totally fine trade for the Mavericks. I think you can look at it as low risk, because you're like, what does second round picks ever turn into? What's the first 6 years from now? And yeah, we had to give up a solid starter in Finney Smith and like basically a solid starter in Spencer Dinwiddie, but we're getting Kyrie. The upside here is massive if it works. The downside is like you're sitting on cap space this summer, or like some semblance of cap space if Kyrie walks, which I don't think you can rule out whatsoever. I'm fine with it. I get it. I'm sketched out about it. I understand why they did it. at the same time, I think I probably would have rather just waited and just threw all my picks in at the same time for somebody really, really good. Maybe that's, I don't even know. Honestly, I'm like looking at it and I'm like, could you have gotten Kevin Durant during this summer if you had like 3 picks and 3 swaps and whatever players, and you just build around that, you know? Because like KD is gonna be like what, 35? Like, you know, you can't play forever unless you're LeBron James. So
Sure, Kevin.
Fair.
I'm fine with it. I feel more neutral about it than anything. I'm super excited to see it. I love Kyrie as a player. I have no idea if they're going to be able to re-sign him. And if they don't, it's not a catastrophe, I don't think, but it's not a good spot either. So that's what I got for it.
Okay, so my take is the Nets were forced into a shitty hand, and they got what they could. Fair enough.
It's more than I thought they would get, if that means anything, to be honest.
Same.
But I think the real G move was the statement by the new Nets owner saying that he was going to do everything in his power to not trade Kyrie Irving to the Lakers.
Does he
That
just
is
hate
just-
LeBron? No. He's just like, God damn you. You're a piece of shit. Fucking over this. You're not going where you want to go. Joke's on everybody.
He's going to go there in the
They let
summer. It's
Malik
whatever.
Beasley walk, and they re-signed Kyrie, or signed Kyrie in the summer, and everybody hates themselves. It's my official stance.
Yeah. So I'm going to rabbit hole for a second because Gavin brought up something.
Not the as I want to eat anyway.
Gavin brought up something that because I've been watching a lot of talk recently in news. Gavin, you brought up that Kyrie forced the Nets' hand to trade him.
100%.
Do you think that's what Aaron Rodgers is going to be doing to the Packers?
I don't think it's that bad, just because he said that he's at peace regardless if he retires a Packer or if he gets traded.
Well,
That as opposed to Kyrie's like, I want to be traded now. You have less than a week to trade me. Trade me.
so the talk of the town from multiple sources is that Aaron Rodgers has told the Packers, you are going to trade me or I'm going to retire. Point blank.
That makes sense.
And the 2 names he has given out are the Raiders, which is his most preferred landing location, and the Jets. But multiple sources have said he has told them, you trade me to where I want to go or I retire, and you get nothing, and you lose money.
Yeah. It's just weird because I know they gave him that fat contract and they lost
$60
Monte
million.
Adams. And I just think it's brutal because they, you paid him that massive contract, and then he's just going to retire like a year after that. Because I think what was like a 4 or 5 year contract.
Yep. And yeah, it's like $60 million they'd be out. And let's be honest, they're not gonna get a first for him. Not with that contract.
Aaron Rodgers?
They're not with that contract. Not when he's holding the hand.
I beg to differ. I think they can get a first easy for Aaron Rodgers.
If it's not to a location he wants, he'll just retire, and they get nothing. He's literally forcing their hand to do what he wants because he has a no trade clause that he can waive.
Right.
And if he's saying, I want to go here, you will trade me here, They don't really have much of an option.
But it depends if like because it has to be a back and forth. So like even if Aaron Rodgers is like threatening to do this, if they feel like the Packers, if they feel like they're not getting the acceptable compensation from either the Raiders or the Jets, they're just like, nah, fuck it. Like,
So you're just
retire
gonna eat
if we don't
$60
care.
million in cap?
They might. I don't know. I
That's-
think that they can talk, get a deal done, but I think where Aaron Rodgers' value is if he does get traded, is like a first and a second. I've heard 2 firsts, but I feel like that's a lot. But I know where Rodgers is, he can still be like a top 5, top 3 quarterback. It's just he's just so old. So it's
I
like
think
you don't
they're
really
gonna
know
get
how
a
many years
second
you have
and a
left.
third most.
What about you, Riley? What's your thought on Aaron Rodgers' trade value?
I love this rabbit hole because I heard some stuff about this morning. First of all, they're not going to instantly lose like straight 60. It's a percentage of it.
No,
Um,
I know, but it's a lot.
it's a lot. They're going to lose a lot, whether they trade them or whatever. Like, they're going to lose a shit ton. Like, that's a fact. Here's the thing. Does it really fucking matter if you're the Packers? You're going to suck dick the next couple years anyway. Or, at the very least, it would probably be most beneficial for you to suck for at least a couple years here. Unless Jordan Love is the answer, right? If that's the case, if we're sitting here 2 years from now and he's fucking doing the Jalen Hurts thing sitting in the Super Bowl, fair enough. I doubt it, but fair enough. Here's my hot take. I think the Packers have actually failed Aaron Rodgers. I don't think Aaron Rodgers has failed the Packers. And I'm going to go through a small list here. And this is from
Preach.
2012. So this is essentially the last decade of drafts. First round picks. Are you ready? Nick Perry, Dayton Jones, haha Clinton Dix, Demarius Randall, Kenny Clark. No pick in 2017, Jair Alexander, Rashawn Gary, Darnell Savage. They then took Jordan Love in 2020. Eric Stokes, Quay Walker, Devontae Watt. Can either of you tell me what everybody I said has in common here besides Jordan Love?
They play
All
defense.
All defense. I get it, Rodgers. I do. I'm not trying to sympathize. I just think if you're going to go out and you're going to spend a decade of draft picks, first round, I totally get their 7 rounds. If you're going to spend a decade of draft picks with Aaron Rodgers on your team on defense, minus drafting his replacement,
A legend.
you need to do better than sucking ass on defense this last year. Like, I know the thought might be the last 3 years, they were really good on defense, blah, blah, blah. If you do a decade of first round picks, you can't have a gap year. You can't. That is so many picks. That would be like if Peyton Manning averaged 16 a game one year, and it's just like, oh, you know, they just invested all these first round picks into linemen and running backs and receivers, and, you know, they just had an off year. That never happened. You can't let that happen. I think they failed Rodgers. I think he went into this season with like a bottom 5 receiving core. And like, I don't even think that's questionable. Like, I genuinely don't. Like, who had a worse receiving core than them this year? Like, the Giants probably.
Yeah, the
maybe
Giants.
the Texans, but even then, I would probably take Brandon Cooks over any receiver. On the Packers, like, I think they failed him. And I know he didn't play perfect this year. Fuck, man, he's not Patrick Mahomes. I know he had back-to-back MVPs. I totally get it. But he's not Patrick Mahomes. He was really cerebral. He knew where to go with the ball. And he had great chemistry with his guys. And then you go in, you bring all these new pieces in who are mediocre on a good day. Christian Watson looked really good in the back half of the year. I will recognize that.
Absolutely.
One receiver is not typically enough. I think they fucked up and failed Rodgers. I think they owe it to him to send him where he wants to go. And you know what? I don't think anybody would be unhappy if you're a Packers fan. Yeah, there's going to be people who are mad, like, oh, we could have got more capital, or why would we send him there if he's just been a dick? He gave you a Super Bowl. He gave you like fucking 10 playoff appearances, and you failed him defensively.
Miserably.
Miserably. Like, That is so many first-round picks. So many. And I know they're not like fucking... None of those guys I named just now were top 10 picks. I get that. But for
Not
Jesus
one wide
fucking...
receiver. Not one
Decent
offensive
defense.
lineman. Not one tight end or running back.
Yeah.
All
I'm just
defense.
going to throw this out there. The 2010, 2011, Brian Bulaga, Derek Sherrod. Fucking at least Bulaga was like a multi-time Pro Bowler. Like shit, it's not like they were bad at drafting offense. They never did it. Those are the only two fucking guys since Rodgers in round one. I think they owe it to him. I think if Rodgers wants to just enjoy a season or 2 or 3, go to the Raiders. Have fun. Chill out in the Bay Area. You're back near Cal. Or you're not in the Bay Area. Whatever. You're close enough, right? Like fucking their honorary Bay Area forever.
Absolutely.
Cool. If he wants to actually win, you go to the Jets. Because right now, I can tell you, no, that sounds ass backwards. I think we all know it's true. Okay? The only quarterback worse than Zach Wilson this year was Russell Wilson, and that was close. Other than that, they have like the worst quarterback situation in the league, and they still finished with 7 wins. I think they're a potential contender if they got a Rodgers.
So
I think the Raiders, even with Rodgers, aren't good enough.
Here
It could change. I think they'd be a level below, like 11 wins. Not 13.
here is my question: if
I'm ready.
Aaron Rodgers, how are the Jets a better spot for Aaron than the Raiders? Look at that offense.
The offensive line.
Okay.
And so what? You
I
draft
won't
that
even
shit.
talk about. Okay. I won't even talk about the offensive line. I can't debate Devontae Adams. What I can give you is Garrett Wilson was the best rookie receiver in the league, and he didn't have a quarterback for half the season. Super impressive. On top of that, they actually had solid production out of 2 different tight ends, like not anything crazy, but solid. Their running game, when Breece Hall was in there, actually was kicking the shit out of teams. Really good. And on top of that, Corey Davis is a very good number 2 receiver, and I think their 3rd and 4th guys are actually like really good for 3rd and 4th string receivers. And yeah, I actually think they're set up. On top of that, the defenses aren't even close. Like the Jets actually had a really, really good defense, and that was playing with an offense they couldn't do fucking anything with Zach Wilson playing.
Yeah, I mean one of the corners was a All-Pro, like first team All-Pro.
Love Sauce Gardner. So here's my thing. I think this could be like a Tom Brady Buccaneer situation where you look at it and go, man, the Bucs, they're not even that great. And then when you actually look at it, you're like, oh no, Jameis Winston just threw 30 fucking interceptions. They were actually a really good team. Couldn't catch a break at quarterback.
blind.
I think it's the same thing with the Jets. I really do.
Yeah, but you gotta compete against the Dolphins. Even the Patriots are still a threat.
What the fuck, brother?
And then
You're talking about going to a division of Patrick Mahomes is the other option.
yeah, so
It's not great. The AFC is pretty loaded. What are you gonna do? Go to the AFC North and get your ass kicked by Joe Burrow? Like the only option is AFC South. They're
and
the
no
Titans.
one wants to go there.
Dude. Okay.
Okay,
That's my
rabbit hole
I'm
over.
I'm not a Rodgers fan at all, by the way. If anything, I'm a little negative on him, but I can be honest about a situation.
So, yeah, that's all I had for that rabbit hole. And then the final trade that happened was the Portland Trailblazers traded Josh Hart to the Knicks for Kent Bazemore, right? Or no, Cam Reddish. My apologies. So I think it's a pretty even trade. Maybe the Trailblazers won a little bit with the pick. Other than that, there's not really much to talk about for it. All right, do we want to start
go ahead,
on
Riley.
these potential trades?
Yeah, we should probably cut the segment. I will say real quick on the Josh Hart, Cam Reddish. Somebody give Cam Reddish a chance. Blazers, please let him actually play like 25 minutes a game. I don't think he's actually good. I actually don't.
Harsh.
But Give him time. Give him a shot. He's a long, rangy wing with some shot creation ability. It's not like it's Kevin Knox here. It might not be far away though. For the Knicks, cool. I know. That was rough. Fun fact: Kevin Knox, not horrendous this year, just bad. For the Knicks, Josh Hart, he's just a solid rotation guy, like fringe starter to like 6, 7, 8th man in your rotation. He's just solid. He's the rebounding god. I don't know if anybody besides me and Gavin are aware of this. Josh Hart averages like fucking. He's 6'4" and he averages like 10 fucking rebounds per 36 minutes. He's absurd. It's stupid.
It's all that heart.
Shout out that man. Dude, all that heart, man. Fucking shout out Josh. Besides that, like, it's totally competent. The Knicks have a bunch of first round picks. I don't know what pick it is. It's probably like fucking Milwaukee's or something though. Like, I'm not worried about that. Kind of weird that they actually traded a first to get off Cam Reddish, kind of, but whatever. Maybe you re-sign Josh Hart to a fair deal and it looks fine. So, Gavin?
Yeah, I think it's just probably the two teams in two different situations. So the Knicks are actually playing way better this year than they were the year prior. So they're probably looking for a couple of these other pieces to try to be a 6th, maybe 5th seed in the East. So Josh Hart helps them out with that more than Cam Reddish does. And I do think it is weird that they traded Cam Reddish plus the pick to get that. But for the Blazers, it gives you that young wing who's unproven, who it to me kind of shows that they understand that they have pieces, but they're not there yet. So it felt more like a selling move to start getting some guys picked like in the lottery. And yeah, so that's just kind of the way I see it. It was sort of a buying move for the Knicks and a selling for the plays for the Trailblazers. So yeah.
Sorry. This is also a luxury tax move. The Blazers were either just below or just above the tax by less than $500,000. This just gets them off some money. Maybe they still have a trade in their back pocket. At the very least, they'll about match up salaries, and this will give them some wiggle room to maneuver around that. Bare minimum, well below luxury tax now. Good move. Just, you're not a contender. You may as well get below luxury tax if you're going to be fighting for the play-in rather than fighting for home court.
Yep.
Okay.
Fair enough.
Okay. All right. Do we want to cut it and then hit up?
That is going to be it for us today, ladies and gentlemen. We're two dudes in a rabbit hole. I'm David.
I'm Gavin.
And I'm still a rabbit hole. I'm Riley.
We'll see you next time.